Remember, they're all supporting characters. Now let's get started. Hello everyone. I think many of you already know characters like Orbsman, Princess Lululalu, Ali, and all the others, and many of you mistakenly think that only these characters will be new to the Digital Circus universe. But I want to assure you that I said at the beginning of the video that they are all supporting characters and none of them will be the main character of any particular episode. But since there will be 8 episodes and there are only 6 characters that each episode can be dedicated to, the remaining 2 spots are vacant, and even if we imagine that the last episode of the season will be the final point where the results will be summarized, even in this case, there is still 1 episode where the main character is missing. Let's see who can fill that sweet spot. Here we go. And the first character I want to tell you about is Queenie. We've all seen her on the mysterious door, but unfortunately not many people know her story, which will be told in the second episode. Let's talk about her past and understand what's going on with her now, and then we'll talk about her role in the new episode. I want to say that this is going to be about every character in this video. Queenie, as many of you know, is Kinger's wife who appeared in the circus at the same time as our crazy old man. But since it has long been known that Kinger has been living in the Digital Circus for about 20 years, he has been living alone for about half of that time. Kinger and Queenie were some of the first inhabitants of the Digital Circus, and since there weren't as many characters as there are now, Kane's focus was on these characters. And if Kane has decided to make you his main target, then we can say that your mental state will be very much in question. After all, Kaufmo has already proven to us that Kane is not the kind of character he wants to appear to be. Or the state of Pomni at the end of the last episode also makes us think about it. After all, if this secret room was really created by Kane, it means that he knows all the pain points of every inhabitant and will be more than happy to use them to drive the character crazy. Queenie was the first woman in the Digital Circus, and since Kane hadn't had contact with girls in a long time, all of his love energy was focused on Queenie. So the first year or 2 in the Digital Circus was a fabulous time for her because she got absolutely everything she wanted. But unfortunately for the toothy administrator, our Queenie eventually realized what was really going on here and started treating Kane like a villain, and he didn't like it very much. And it's not that Queenie gave Kane any reason to think about their relationship, but she thought that every character had the same life. Kinger also noticed all the signs of attention towards his wife and at first even rudely told Kane that he'd better end it. And the moment Queenie said directly that nothing could happen between her and Kane, the real digital hell began. Every day Kane sent several dummies to Kinger and Queenie, and we've already talked about what dummies can do. He wouldn't give them food, he wouldn't let them sleep, he would leave the lights on in their rooms. And all this began to drive our chess piece crazy, but at first it wasn't so noticeable. This minor abuse went on for about 8 years, after which Kinger was not in the most appropriate state, and Queenie, because girls have a much more unstable emotional background, was almost on the verge of insanity. And that's when Kane struck the final blow in the story. He stole Queenie at night and hid her in one of the mannequin rooms. There is nothing in this room but a bed, and the door is just a fake door. And in fact, there is no door in this room. And so Queenie ended up in a room with no door, a bed, and very bad lighting. And then it was officially announced to everyone that Queenie had turned into an abstracted monster. We know what happened to Kinger, but Queenie was actually around the rest of the Digital Circus, but no one knew it. And you won't believe it, but Queenie is still in this room, and when Pomni, Jax, and Regatha passed this very room, she was happy and screamed in the hope that she would be heard. But as we know from the pilot episode, our heroes just passed by because they didn't hear anything like that. And now it's time to talk about the second episode, in which Queenie will find a way to outwit Kane and get out of her trap. When this happens, no one will be surprised. All the characters will be completely confused and shocked by what is happening. But we will see an improvement in Kinger's mental state, as the loss of his wife was the main trigger for him. Once Queenie is able to get out, she will be able to tell the rest of the characters what is going on, and their world will be completely turned upside down. They realize what the amazing Digital Circus really is, and they all turn a little bit into Kaufmo, because now they're all obsessed with finding a way out, so they don't have to go through the same situation as Queenie. But what will happen to Kane? Of course he will be shocked by everything that is happening, and his anger and aggression will reach a whole new level. He will immediately show his true face and no longer need to hide behind the mask of a kind administrator. And of course he will make Queenie his main target, and after a few days, he will turn her into an abstracted monster. This is how the story of Queenie in the Digital Circus will really end, but it will add a huge excitement and desire to get into the head of absolutely every character. Despite the fact that her role in the new episode will only last for a short time, she will still be the key character of the episode. Well, what if we don't see Queenie, but someone else? Let's talk about Pon. I think it's easy to guess that this is the brother of our favorite Pomni. As we know, Pomni is about 25 years old, while Pon is about 26-28 years old. Before Pomni went to the Digital Circus, they were very good friends, and at the moment when Pomni teleported to the Digital Circus, Pon was next to her, and when it happened, he was shocked by what happened. At first, he didn't even realize what had happened to his sister and thought it was some new trick, but as soon as he realized the reality of what was happening, he immediately tried to understand how it could happen and wore the damn headset all the time to get to his sister and try to save her. But then he didn't know what was really going on. When he entered the digital circus, he immediately found Pomni. Everyone remembers Pomni's mental state at the end of the pilot episode. To be honest, there was almost nothing left of that positive and engaging girl. So when she saw her brother, her mood immediately improved and they started thinking about how to find a way out. Pomni told him about all the strange things she had observed during her short time in the circus, and unlike everyone else, Pon immediately believed and trusted her. Pomni also recalled her entire first day at the digital circus and got caught up in a fascinating detail. Remember the moment of conversation between Pomni and Regatha? At first, Pomni's hand was as weird as the rest of Regatha's, but as soon as Regatha said it could be healed, but only Kane could do it, the glitches on Pomni's hand immediately disappeared. But as soon as she stopped thinking about it, the glitches returned. After thinking about it, Pomni and Pon realized that Pomni actually has a power that no one else has and that she can compete with Kane. There are also theories that those doors labeled exit were not randomly generated by the digital circus, but were Pomni's thoughts that she accidentally managed to transfer into the digital circus. After a moment's thought, they decided that as soon as Kane came up with another task, they would immediately create that very door and try to figure out how to bypass the void so that this space wouldn't paralyze their bodies. But since Pomni is also an administrator, she will simply create some kind of capsule that will keep their bodies normal, but at the same time protect them from detection. But unfortunately no one, not even Regatha, believe in her plan and will remain in the digital circus, while our Pomni and Pon will succeed and be able to leave this hellish survival game unnoticed. But such a scenario is possible only at the end of the first season, because no one can make Atkuyu plot twist at the very beginning of the season, because it would destroy the interest to watch a huge audience, but agree that it would be insanely interesting. I also want to talk about another character, Jaxie. Remember the interesting concept of having a character that looks like Jax, but he's very feminine. I thought for a long time that Jax was actually a girl, but I realized that it had no connection to reality. More interesting is the theory that Jax, like Kinger, did not enter the digital circus alone, but with his other half. And also remember how I said that Jax was not really a bully at the beginning of his journey in the digital circus, but he was quite a nice and reserved guy, just like his girlfriend Jaxie. And it was because of this overbearing reserve that they became the object of ridicule by the other characters. And then Jax could not answer them in any way because he was afraid to say a single word. And so it went every day. Every day Jaxie and Jax were abused by the other inhabitants of the digital circus. And one day Jaxie just got tired of it. And because she was fixated on these humiliations, the result of this mental state is always the same: turning into an abstracted monster. It was this situation that provoked Jax to become the bully we see in the pilot episode. First, he drove all those who destroyed his love crazy, and then he just liked this behavior, and maybe he even got great pleasure from it, so he cannot stop. In fact, there are a huge number of different theories that will drive you crazy, and exactly the same number of characters. But unfortunately, this video will be limited to only these 3. But I promise you that in the near future, we'll make the second part of this fascinating section. And also, I think it is necessary to talk about the characters that are depicted on the doors, but unfortunately, they are not shown to us in the pilot episode. But there is a huge possibility that we will see them in the future. And that's the end of our amazing video. Good luck and success, everyone, and bye-bye.